when a writer like Steve came in and would turn in a script and you realize this guy can write the show, you hide his car keys so he can't go home. You don't let them out of the building.
Welcome to NCIS Partners and Probies. I am Diona Reasonover.
And I am Brian Dietzen.
You know us from NCIS as being literal the lab coat crew.
This week, we have a couple of icons from the history of NCIS.
We have the two showrunners, Frank Cardea and Stephen Binder.
Steve Binder currently is our current showrunner. Frank Cardea retired a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago. But between the two of them, I believe each one of them has overseen 450 episodes apiece.
Oh yeah, the two of them are really helming this show.
All right, so we are here with Frank Cardea and Steve Binder, two of the, how many is it, 7 showrunners we've had on the history of NCIS. Before we get into the history of everything, before we get into what makes NCIS the show it is, can you guys do us all a favor and just describe, definition, what is a showrunner and what do they do?
Frank?
Exactly.
Well, you know, if you find out, let us know. Technically, they're the. If I always tell people, if it was a corporation, he'd be the CEO.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah, that's what I tell people who weren't born in LA.
So when we say like a showrunner, does that mean that that they handle like everything within the show, including costumes, including money, all that sort of stuff, or is it more determined just the storylines and the scripts?
I mean, I think you end up spending most of your time on the storylines and the scripts. Quality scripts on time, I think, is sort of the mantra.
Right.
But you are ultimately responsible for all the things that you've mentioned. So either you're giving your tacit approval or explicit approval or guidance on something in particular, or if something goes wrong, it's your fault.
Okay.
Of course.
Wow,
So,
yeah, of course.
The other big part of it is post-production. You spend a lot of time as a showrunner in the cutting room.
And taking calls from actors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when something goes wrong with the actor, they call the showrunner.
Somebody wants you on the set now.
Who calls you the most?
Brian. Brian's my guy.
I'm your guy.
You're my guy.
I'm the guy that hey, you can always talk to me whenever you need to. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk us through a typical day of running like NCIS.
It depends on how you run it. I think Steve and I have different styles.
I've had many styles now at this
I
point.
used to show up a half hour before call.
Okay.
That's not my style.
That's not Steve's style. I used to have breakfast with Mark Harmon every morning.
Yeah.
And I used to like to make the rounds, visit all the departments, see what sets were being built.
Which is why you were called the mayor of NCIS.
I was the
because
mayor, yes.
every single department on our set knew that Frank Cardea would come through with this pink polo and be able, and he would know everyone's name, everyone's spouse's name, and go through and
But I like to, you find out what's going on.
To the keyboard.
And then, about 9 o'clock, the writers would start filtering in, and I'd go back up to my little cave.
Right.
And start the day. And but most of your day is probably script and.
Yeah, although by 9 you mean 10.
10, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Hollywood time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so both of you guys have worked other shows, obviously, but when it came to NCIS, you both started the show under Don Bellisario, of course, the guy who created NCIS, who created also, Airwolf, Magnum PI, Quantum Leap. What other ones am I missing?
Tequila and Bonetti.
Okay. All Rise, that's right.
Tales of the Gold Monkey.
First Monday.
First Monday.
First Monday.
Oh, yeah,
right.
First Monday.
First Monday, not All Rise. Yes, we had that wrong. So you guys both came up under Don Bellisario, who worked as the showrunner for 4 years on NCIS. What things did you learn from him, or learn on how
Frank?
to show run?
Well, George.
From working with Don.
I came in. For 45 years. I had a partner, George Skagg.
Yes.
And George and I had run shows prior to NCIS, and we got that point of our career where we would be brought in by the network to help a show that was either take over showrunners or help out a show that was in trouble. And season 1, NCIS was in trouble. They had nothing to shoot.
Yeah.
And we were brought in. So we had a unique perspective in the fact that we were showrunners, and we came in as, they used to call us creative consultants.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can we back up? What do you mean they had nothing to shoot for season 1?
Nothing to shoot.
This is the first you're hearing about this.
This is no
Oh my
scripts.
God.
Let's
We
hear
were brought
about
to
this.
Georgia.
Till season
George
3.
and I came in season 1, episode 7. We were on another CBS show, and CBS called us and said, could you take a couple of weeks off or a week off from the show and write a script for this new show that has nothing to shoot? And they sent us a 3-sentence paragraph of what they thought the episode should be. And we called Gil Grant, who was then the head of the writing staff. Don was running the show, but Gil was running the writing staff. And we said to Gil, who was an old friend, what's our time frame? And he said, we're in the 3rd day of prep on the episode. So there was
and
nothing to shoot.
So when you say 3rd day of prep, how many days does it take?
It's a 7-day prep and an 8-day shoot. So 3 days had gone by where everybody just sat around and said, what are we doing?
This is actually wild. This is like sending out invitations to the party and not knowing where the party's going to be, not knowing the address, not
There's
knowing
no caterer
the food.
set up, nothing.
So the day of the episode started shooting, we had finished the first 3 acts. And then Don decided to change the whole 4th act. But
so managerially, it was a different style than what we've experienced with you two.
the first 3 years, Steve came in what year?
Season 3.
Season 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was still some chaos in season 3.
Yeah, I brought in freelance. I was hired to write a freelance episode, and I came in on a Friday and got a lot of from John Kelly at the time, and a lot of notes. Like it was the act. I was good through act one, and then it was like, oh my gosh, I need 2 weeks to finish this. And he said, we start prep on Monday, or maybe we start shooting on Monday. It may have been that even, because I was writing it while we were shooting it.
Oh my God.
And it was endlessly like,
You should really talk to Mark Horowitz about this, because Mark can tell you, Mark was the best line producer I've ever worked with. They rarely, the first 3 years, started shooting with a full script.
yeah.
I do remember there was a few times when David McCallum and I would be working on a body, and I remember this one time specifically, an actor said, "Man, I didn't know this was going to be in my contract. I got to be naked on a table in front of everyone." I said, "Well, I mean, you usually know that." He goes, "No, I'm killed in the 4th act. I didn't get that act until like 2 days ago." And this guy did not sign up for it. But what's interesting when you say all this, like, there's so much chaos within the formation and the gestation of this entity of NCIS within the first 3 seasons. But the amount of amazing characters that came out of that, and that's the responsibility of the showrunner, right? To create those things.
Don created
Yeah.
incredible characters that lasted many, many years.
Right.
He was brilliant at it. He really was.
But you created a great, been on the show the whole time character, and you have as well, Steve, created incredible characters. You created somebody who was in your first episode, Sub Rosa, right?
McGee.
McGee.
Tell us about that.
Sean
We were
Murray's
doing
first show.
this episode that we had 3 days to write. And it was in those days that the core group in the squad room was Gibbs, Donoso, and Sasha Alexander, Kate. And they were going to go investigate Norfolk to investigate a murder on a submarine. The submarine had already left and gone to sea. So Kate and Gibbs were going to be flown out to the submarine. And poor Donoso was stuck. He had no one to talk to. We said, well, we can't have Michael talking to himself. So
I think Michael could talk to himself for a long time, man.
Yes,
Let's be honest.
But we came up with the idea of, why don't we found out what a probie was. A probie is somebody who's brand new. And we said, what if there's a probie who's assigned to the NCIS office at Norfolk? And he sort of has to get assigned to this group. And Sean Murray was cast, and the rest is history.
That's so great.
There's actually a story I just realized that you're a part of that speaks to this. It was season 3, I think, maybe season 4, and Don wouldn't let. Part of this problem was Don wouldn't let a script go out unless it was 100, unless it was an A+.
Yeah.
Which I think is a testament on some level to the success of the show, and sometimes that meant holding it to day 4 production. So we had this script. It was a David North script called Jeopardy, and we were rewriting the 4th act, and it was Chris Silber and me and David were helping David. We're sitting in his room, and it got to the point where I said, okay, someone sit down and start typing. It could take an hour to come up with a line, but we needed this thing quick. And I said, if you stop, get up and someone else sits down and see if they could take it a line further. And we were literally rotating around, and it got to me in the chair, and I just, it was an autopsy scene, and for some reason, something in Star Trek popped up, how McCoy would always say, like, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. So I wrote a line like, Mr. Palmer, it's an autopsy, not a, and then I couldn't think of the thing, and they were like, get up. And so someone else sat down, and then I get a call from Don, I've got to drive up to the set. So I drive up to the set. It's a half hour later. I'm walking through the squad room set. You guys are shooting. You're shooting in autopsy. And I hear David McCallum say to you, Mr. Palmer, it's an autopsy, not an oil change. And I'm like, oh,
I remember that.
oh my God.
Who came up with oil change?
Someone, David or Chris, and they finished the scene and they faxed it
funny.
up, and you guys were shooting it by the time I got there in 30 minutes later.
There was some chaos in those days. I remember there was one time specifically, they gave me a mouthful, 2 pages of expo, and they said, we're shooting this in 20 minutes, and it was just one of those things as an actor, you go, I'd really like to be prepared, and I'm just not now, but,
Mark Harmon always used to tell the story about wrapping one night in Malibu on the beach.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 a.m. or something. And the AD came up and said, your call is 6:30 at
No.
the stages.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so it sounds like
It was fun.
you guys learned plenty.
Yeah, truly.
from the Don Belisario days and whatnot. What do you do as you then kind of get the mantle yourself? Frank, you started running the show in, was it 2014, right?
Season 14.
Oh, sorry, season 14.
Yeah.
So that was 2017?
It's like a year later.
2016. Sorry,
Asking entertainers to do math.
It was
would be
2016, and you and your partner George Skank decided you guys were asked to take over the show after the
Gary
passing
Glassberg,
of Gary Glassberg,
Yeah.
who was our wonderful showrunner for, gosh, was it 6-7 years?
From 6 to 14.
Yeah, it was wonderful. When you were asked to step into that, I think you may have been asked prior to that, but when you finally said, yes, we'll do this, what was the culture that you wanted to form there on the set of NCIS? What did you want to do?
You know, fortunately for us, the culture existed by that point. I mean, the show really hit its stride like seasons 4, 5, and the crew sort of settled in. By 14, when we took over, almost all the department heads had been there for 14 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Most of the crew had been there for 14 years. It was one big giant family. There was a shorthand. We weren't working crazy hours anymore. Some afternoons you'd wrap at 4 o'clock, and
Those are my afternoons.
Those
I
are the
like
good
those
ones.
yeah. So the culture really existed. A lot of the culture, I think you probably attest to this too, started with Mark Harmon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark set the tone. As a showrunner, it was a great benefit to have the number one on the call sheet be a guy who came completely prepared every day, who really felt the set was like his home. When guests came in, he would embarrass you by, plying them with food and bussing their dishes at lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He did that for my sister. She came to visit.
So the culture, there wasn't much culture. It was created. It was in place by the time we took over.
It was kind of a top-down thing.
Yeah.
If number one on the call sheet's doing that, then that
Yeah.
sets the tone.
And if a guest star showed up, and I remember seeing a guest star, we called for lunch, and this woman actress was standing on the steps of her trailer saying, which AD is going to get my lunch? And Mark went over and said, here's how it works here. If you want lunch, you get in line. You don't cut to the head of the line, because Mark would always be at the back of the line. And these people work just as hard as you work. So
Yeah.
Or if a guest star would come in late. I remember one time being in interrogation. Guest star walks in, sorry I'm late. And Mark just walks up and puts his arm around his shoulder, walks back out into the hall with him.
So
Explain things to the guest star.
As a producer, you didn't have to ever give those speeches to guest stars. Mark took care of it
Yeah, I heard
in a
that.
very pleasant way.
I heard that Mark was actually responsible for a couple little hijinks that happened on set. Is that true?
Usually, if there was a practical joke took place, it would always be traced back to Mr. Harmon. Yeah.
A couple.
You guys have any played on you?
Well, they back before HR got involved, they loved the hot seat.
the hot seat happened a lot.
What is a hot seat?
Hot seat is where they take a lighter and they hold it under your chair.
Sure.
And,
Under a director's chair.
We had to finally ban it because all the director's chairs are
were
getting burned.
Yeah,
yeah, not just the chair the director's sitting in, the director chair that anyone's sitting in.
Michael Weatherly once pulled one on me. He put a license plate frame on my car. How often do you look at your license plate? You never do.
what?
So for like a week, people would be, blowing their horn. It was something I really can't repeat.
Frank,
In a mixed company,
I think you should repeat it. I know the story. You should repeat it. It's very funny.
I forget the exact wording. It was something gay and
I think it was gray, gay,
and ready to play. So I rode around for a week with that on the back of my car.
But the best part is when you found out he didn't take it off.
Not true.
That's actually really perfect.
Mark and I had a practical joke that went on for about 3 months.
What?
We were shooting in San Pedro. Mark would walk around and pick up, we're on some dock in San Pedro. He was picking up bolts and nuts and putting them in your pocket. And you'd get home and you'd put your hand in your pocket and have like a bunch of bolts and nuts. So I took one of the bolts and I hid it in his chair, and he kept hiding it on me. This was going back and forth. I finally went to props, and I said, I want you to find the biggest nut you can find. They found one about this big that weighed about 25 pounds. Yeah. And I had it engraved. It said, property of Mark Harmon. If found, please return. And we hid it in his trailer. And then I found it in my home when I got there.
He actually bolted it to one of your chairs.
Well, that was the final.
The second to last.
Mark used to go to Montana every year with his family to a dude ranch. I called his wife Pam and said, "Okay, I'm sending up something up to." Mark had bolted it to a chair in our office. So if you sat there, the bolt was sort of between your legs.
I remember coming.
You couldn't sit in the chair.
Couldn't sit in the chair.
So
It was a big giant bolt.
I said to Pam, "Please give me the name of the people at the ranch." I shipped the chair to Montana. So when Mark got to Montana for his 2-week vacation, he walked in, the chair was sitting in his cabin. So when he got back, I said to him, "What'd you do?" The chair said, "Oh, I didn't want to carry it back. We had a big bonfire. I threw the chair in the bonfire." And then a week later, it was bolted to the wall. So the chair was bolted to the wall in our office.
And then sometimes we work.
Yeah.
I do remember coming into your office one time with you and George, and I was about to sit down, and I was like, "That is the least welcoming chair I've ever seen." There's a nut and a bolt sticking out of it, and it was like this high.
It was welded.
Right in the center
welded to the
of
chair.
the cushion.
The other great was Moosey.
The moose.
Chris
we have
Whale-
a video for that we can give you.
Chris Wales, one of the executive producers down on the show, had the nickname Moosey. I don't know. It's a long story how he got Moosey. Mark heard about it one day at lunch, thought it was the funniest thing he ever heard. Mark went out and purchased a moose, a full head, one of those stuffed heads you see on a wall.
It's still on his wall.
Still on his wall.
It's still on his
up
wall.
there,
I just
and
went there
it's-
yesterday.
We have the video of him
Gigantic.
opening his off. We had cameras set up. So when
Yeah.
he came in that morning, he startled.
You
There's a
remember
giant moose.
the beeper?
Yeah. This guy.
I gotta hear it. I gotta hear
We gotta
it.
hear the beeping.
It was
That's all there is
for
to it.
months. This joke amused me. It was just a little device that made a beeping noise, like a beep, like randomly every 3 or 4 hours.
Like a smoke alarm.
So I stuck it in, and it was magnetic. So I stuck it up in one of the wall vents in their office,
George in my office.
and then for months they'd be like, beep, like, "Did you hear that? Where's that from? Where's that from?" And I'd be in there when they'd
Made
be
me
like
crazy.
I remember one time coming in, and George, because it would beep every 3 hours, so you wouldn't know where it came from. And one time he was moving his chair over the course of the day. I think it was over there, and then he was move his chair, and he would just sit there. Yeah, I mean, I was going to let that go for years, but Jen Corbett ended up putting the gag in a script.
Yeah.
And that was when Frank and George were like, and I know who. That was me.
I'm laughing.
So you
but-
said in addition to this, you do write as well.
Yeah. So wait, but Steve, I also have to ask, because I didn't know until just now that you got brought in on a freelance script.
It was a freelance, yeah.
How did you survive the sort of deluge of writers that was coming through?
You asked earlier what we learned from Don.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he impressed upon, it was very simple, have a really good hook, good cold open, have some really good twists. Don't do regular interview scenes. Don't do, I'm going to talk to the CEO. Always have some take or some off or some weird angle, and then have heart. That was something he really pushed. I think what Don found amusing the most with me was the weird take on scenes.
Right.
yeah.
I think
A little
he,
asymmetrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe what he responded to. If I had to guess how I survived, he told you a lot of things, and I used to try and listen very carefully to what he said, figure out what I think he meant, and then try and do both just to cover my ass. That's the only thing I can think of how I survived.
Don used to have an expression, our show is about what happens in the gaps. It's not like, we got a clue, let's follow the clue. It's with the byplay and between the characters and what went on in between the procedural stuff. That's really...
Which I think has separated it from other certain procedurals and saying that this is about the characters and not just the case of the week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember how much you emphasized that you literally wrote the Bible on NCIS.
It's literally called the Bible.
It's
yeah.
literally
We changed
called the
it to the
Bible.
writer's guide to give it a more secular.
Sure. Separation of church and NCIS.
Speaking as a showrunner, when a writer like Steve came in and would turn in a script and you realize this guy can write the show, you hide his car keys so he can't go home. You don't let them out of the building. So
like,
that's why Steve stuck around all
We
these
want
years.
3 or 4 out of you a year.
No, it was more than that in the beginning. It was, I mean, I got back to what it was like working there. So I got married. I started the show. I was single, living in an apartment. I had no kids. And then, on the show, I ended up, getting a house, getting married, having kids. Now I'm single, living in an apartment again. But I was getting married, and it was Friday night, and we had the prenuptial dinner, and I was sitting, and I was just writing in the lobby, like before I even went to my car, just sitting and writing.
Oh, wow.
And I left at like 7 o'clock to get to the prenuptial dinner at 7:30. I got married, and then Sunday after the brunch at 1, I was back writing again, and there was no honeymoon. I just went right back into writing the show.
What season was that? Like, what year was that?
That was season 4.
That was season 4.
Season
Wow.
of
was season
Secrets.
4.
The season of secrets. Did you have
Yeah.
any secrets that you had come up with for any of the characters?
Yeah, actually, and I don't know if I regret this in some way. Remember Tony was undercover with Jean
with
Benoit?
Jean Benoit.
Season
Oh, yes.
4 was the season George and Frank left.
Oh, that's right, you were not there. So
That's
you do
right.
not
That was
remember.
the one
That's
season.
right.
We
Yeah.
at the end of season 3, we told Mr. Belisari we were leaving, and he told us we couldn't. And we said we were, and we left.
Yep.
And then we were in New Zealand doing a movie, and got a text from Mr. Harmon saying, "When you get back from New Zealand, do we have coffee?" And Don had left, and that's when the first time they asked us to take over. We said no.
Right.
Really?
Well, we were at that age where
Who needs it?
who needs it? We was, a lot of
the current
show running is calling your wife to say I can't make dinner tonight, or
Yeah.
can you cover me at the Little League game, or can It's a lot of hours.
And you had come from a place where it was crazy.
Yeah,
We didn't know it was going to not be crazy in season 5.
The first 3 seasons were so crazy. George and I said, "This is, we were too old to do that." And
So you feel like when you guys did take the reins in season 14, you thought,
Oh,
look, this thing
was
has
a
been
different show.
established. It's a bit more.
as I said, it was a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
When we stepped in to do it, it was an easy thing to do. It wasn't setting up a show is the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah. And
Stepping
people
into a successful show that's number 1
Yeah.
in season 14 is a piece of cake.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think a lot of folks ask when it comes to our writers' room and the changing the show over the many years, right, is we've had some massive changes in this show, in front of the camera, certainly behind the camera as well. But when we see what's changed in front of the camera, meaning when Tony DiDozo has left, when Ziva David, the character, has left, Abby Shuto, even Gibbs. How do you as showrunners make that transition and make it not just palatable, but hopefully welcoming for those new characters? And so, so our fans can play along with it and fall in love with the new folks. I mean, we're both, new folks. We weren't here at the inception
Well, I think
of NCIS.
I was there when we cast Diona.
Yeah.
We had approached CBS and said, Paulie Perrette, who played Abby, was so loved by the audience.
Oh yeah.
That if we bring in someone to replace her, and Paulie had announced she was leaving, the audience is going to hate her. They're going to say, nobody could be our Abby. So our pitch was, let's bring her in for 3 or 4 episodes before Abby leaves, so the character of Abby can embrace the character of Casey and say, she's really great and I love her, and give her blessing. So that was one way we did it. We did the same thing when Emily Wickersham left.
That's right.
We brought in and Katrina.
Yep.
Katrina
Came in. Katrina came in and did a couple of crossover episodes with Emily.
We did something similar but different when Mark Harmon left. It was we brought in Gary Cole early, but specifically brought him in to be hated. He was Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive. That was the pitch to the network. We're going to bring him in. He's after Gibbs. We're going to hate this guy. The team's going to hate this guy. Gibbs is going to hate this guy. He's going to Gary Cole's character Parker is going to think Gibbs is a bad guy. And then over the course of 4 episodes, like the course of The Fugitive, Tommy Lee Jones is your antagonist. He starts to realize that Harrison Ford is a righteous man and a wrongly accused man, and signs on to actually protect him. So that was sort of the arc that Parker Alden Parker did over 4 episodes, so that the idea is that we hate him, which is the audience is going to hate him, and then we fall in love with him, and he ends up, the character ends up sacrificing his job. He gets fired at FBI to protect Gibbs.
Yeah.
So when he finally shows up, we really brought him through his paces, and I think that made it more palatable for him to take over. And then his very first episode, when Mark had left, he comes into the bullpen and specifically says, "I'm not going to take over the show."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the audience, the idea being that the audience isn't thinking, "Oh, this is the replacement guy." He just ends up getting enrolled in an episode. So they got to experience what he brought to the table without having to be like, "Is this my new dad?"
Yeah.
Just like, "No, this is just Uncle Bob visiting for Thanksgiving." And then at the end of dinner, Mom's like, "Uncle Bob's going to be hanging out a little more." And by then, maybe you like Uncle Bob a little more.
But it's interesting because the show is not just so much about the case of the week or the characters, but it's also about the relationship that those characters develop. So when you have so many cast changes, how do you start to develop these new relationships while still kind of keeping it fresh and honoring the ones that have gone?
You know, I would say that bringing in the new characters is what keeps it fresh. Is that at some point, I don't want to say you run out of stories to tell, but you start repeating too often. Because what is there, like 12 stories? We've done 500 episodes, so we've done some repeating.
Michael Weatherly once approached me and said, "Okay, we've done Strangers on a Train 3 times. Are we going to do it a 4th?" It was like,
Yes,
Yes, we will.
we will.
Probably.
We'll give
We
it a couple of
probably
years.
will.
Well, yeah, we'll do it.
but new people are completely new animals.
Yeah.
So new
Yeah.
relationships, new dynamics, new relatives to bring in, new history, where they grew up, and that's what keeps it fresh.
We had great luck bringing in characters' families. I mean, we had the fathers of Donoso and Gibbs, and we had Jimmy Palmer's wife and
Yeah.
daughter.
Yeah, I remember Lily Tomlin came in as McGee's
Great-grandmother.
Yeah,
Is she available?
yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, you also said we've had some great luck, but also, I mean, you think about the actors that we brought in, whether they're established or whether they're unknown. I mean, you got to say it's not luck at this point, right? Like, what are you guys looking for when you're looking for a new team member, or when you're looking for a recurring guest star? You're looking for something, because the showrunner really is the person that's crafting these grand arcs or these storylines or these relationships. Like, what are you looking for, like, personnel-wise? Like
Well,
when
you
you're
need to
bringing
create a
someone in.
character that, you know, the problem with doing a pilot for a TV show is if you're really successful, they pat you on the back and say, "Now do it 200 more times." So you need to have a character that has enough facets to their personality that you can, we used to call it peeling the onion. Just take a little off each week, then know more and more. Our show, I remember in the first couple of years, CBS was always asking us to tell more about the characters, and we just said, we've had more success slow rolling out you found out about Gibbs' wives over the first 6 or 7
It
years.
was like season 4, wasn't it? That Ducky went to him and said,
Hiatus 1 and 2.
Yeah. Okay.
The season 3 finale was when you found out he had a dead wife and daughter.
"Wow,
Wow.
And we didn't find out about Donoso's father, played by the wonderful Robert Wagner,
yeah."
until about season 5 or 6,
Yeah.
maybe. And
Yeah.
then he ended up doing like 12 episodes.
Oh yeah, beloved
We're also
character.
been the beneficiary of a long-running show where we can do this. We haven't had to throw the kitchen sink at everything.
We've had incredible guest stars when you think about it. Bob,
Really have.
Bob Newhart,
Bob Newhart. I mean, remember
Jamie
Charles
Lee
Durning
Curtis.
Charles
was
Durning.
nominated for his episode.
Zac Efron.
Yeah,
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Millie
Sterling
Bobby
Brown.
Millie Bobby
Sterling-
Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown. Who was saying the other day? Glenn Powell, didn't he? He came in and did a 2-parter that
think he did.
Jen Corbett and Gina wrote. That was fantastic, and he's doing okay for himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tay Diggs. Tay Diggs was
Tay
on
Diggs
it.
in that
Tay
episode.
Diggs. But actually, I just want
Billy
to go.
D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams was
Yeah,
on. I
Billy
didn't
D.
know that.
Michael DeBar.
That's the namesake of Leroy Jethro Gibbs, right? That was
Yeah.
who Leroy was
Yeah.
named after.
He was Leroy Jethro.
Wow. And Rocky Carroll's character is named after somebody too, right?
Leon Carroll, our tech advisor. And ironically, they have the same last name.
Wow.
But Leon Vance was patterned after Leon Carroll.
I want to talk about somebody that we just mentioned. We mentioned Ducky, and I want to talk about the Ducky tribute and what that was like to do.
Well, I wasn't there, so Steve will.
Sad.
Yeah.
Written by who?
Yeah, well, myself and Scott
Scott Williams, yeah.
Yeah,
Great episode.
But honestly, I'll jump in for 1 second to say that our names are on the script, but it was really every writer and showrunner that came before us, because we used clips from so many shows, and during the writing of this, we got ideas from Steve and everyone on the writing staff. So it was for me anyhow as a writer, that was definitely a huge team effort for sure.
I think the biggest question, and you and Scott answered it, was how do you get into this?
Yeah.
What's the entree into this? And your entree was Jimmy discovering, at the beginning that his friend and mentor had died, and that's not after he writes it. It seems obvious, but before then, is he gone on a trip? Has he disappeared? Like, there's so many different ways you can do that, and they just went straight for
As just a viewer, I thought it was one of the strongest teasers ever.
Yeah.
With Jimmy discovering Ducky in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not one that was hard to find the tears on, because that was the only time that we've lost a cast member.
Yeah.
And he was still in our cast at the time. He would come, and I think at that time only doing about two to four episodes a year, but still, certainly a part of our family. So, that was powerful for me for sure. And
And a clip show, so we saved some money.
and it was cool, a clip show.
Who
Exactly.
directed it?
That was Michael Zimberg.
Zimberg.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge moment. Another huge moment.
We've saved so much money actually that we've been having people drink before they go home. Have one more. Have one more. Yeah.
Is that part of the job of the showrunner as well,
yes,
to encourage
it's
that?
like,
Nice.
I don't know. I mean, I
Nice,
don't want
Steve.
anything to happen to anybody, but boy, we could save like $250 an episode.
Exactly.
You mean $250?
Yeah.
$250.
Okay,
$250,000.
great.
Cash.
Cash.
You can get locks at craft service again.
So that certainly is an episode that stands out to me in the history of being on the show. Is that one for my character? I want to hear like what you guys, if there are specific episodes or even just moments that as a showrunner, whether you crafted the story or not, that stick out in your mind and you say, oh man, like that is a time we just got it right. If there's any episodes that stood out, or even just moments within episodes.
I think there were a lot of Kate getting killed at the end of season 2
my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
is always being listed as one of the biggest surprises in television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
That was really powerful. The ones that always stuck out with me were the real episodes of A Lot of Heart. I just think Jesse Stern wrote the first time we met Gibbs' father when they went back to Stillwater. And it showed a whole side of the show that I think we used a lot with other family members being involved.
Yeah, I'll never forget that one. We remember who was initially cast as Gibbs' father.
James Garner. And he came in for the table read. And
James Garner, yeah. Unfortunately, he couldn't film.
And he never recovered. It was a magical table read.
It's a really great table read.
He came in and it was like, oh my God, it's James Garner, but he looks old and tired. And when he opened that script and started reading, he was like 30 years old.
Wow.
And he went home that night and I guess
Yeah.
took a turn for the worse.
Did you guys see him and David McCallum? I mean, it was why these two hadn't worked together since they filmed The Great
Escape, one of my favorite movies.
And they just were like magnets together and hugged, and it was you're sitting there going, wow, I'm watching cinema history.
And a lot of our crew worked on Rockford Files.
Oh,
a lot of
really?
the older guys on our crew.
Oh, wow.
So it was sort of like a homecoming for Garner.
That's great.
That's incredible.
It was a great table read, maybe the best. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
then Ralph Waite stepped in the next day.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he did great too.
Oh, yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Steve, any great moments that...
Yeah, a lot.
Now's the time to pat yourself on the back,
Yeah,
too, if
we
you
wanna
came up
see
with
it.
something great. I mean, we want you to get some credit here.
I have to tell you, a lot of the great moments that, because especially when it ends, your name comes up at the end.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay. But then sometimes like it ends and you're like, oh, I'm pretty happy my name's coming up at the end right now. It's been this season.
Yeah.
Stuff that hasn't aired yet.
Oh, this season?
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of really good stuff coming down the pike where I watch it and the episode's over and I'm like, man, that's really landing.
Oh, that's so
really,
good to hear.
really looks good and it plays good and it cooks.
Can I say one of my favorite endings that you wrote?
Yep.
You
One?
were- yeah, just one. You were my Shannon.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that. That's from Devil's Triangle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Devil's Triangle.
That was, so one of Gibbs's ex-wives he meets, and it turns out that she's also an ex-wife to Gibbs's best friend, or at that point, frenemy even, Fresnel, the FBI agent. And Gibbs's history is that Shannon was his one true love. Yeah. And all these marriages that he had, where I think there was 3 that we know of, they were just his attempt to find that love again, and they all failed miserably and horribly. And the character of Diane, who's this ex-wife, she's a very tough cookie. And she's very brassy, and she's very loud. And she's
Melinda McGraw.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so
good.
But she has a heartfelt moment with Gibbs in the episode where I think at some point she's yelling at him, it wasn't easy being your human antidepressant because you used me for, X, Y, and Z. And she's remarried at this point. But they have this heart-to-heart at the end of the episode in the basement where she basically says to Gibbs that he was the one that she's never going to get over.
Yeah.
And then the way she says it is, you're my Shannon.
You're my Shannon.
Yeah. And then you realize how horrible it is for this woman that the two of these people are, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's broken, and she's not for him. So now she's broken because he's not for her, and it was super sad.
So beautiful.
That made a lot of people sad.
Yeah,
I like that.
I told you earlier, Frank. We had the opportunity. The NCIS cast and the cast of NCIS Origins got together on the Paramount lot, and we did a reading of that. Yeah. What was it, like 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks?
For the premiere.
Yeah.
For the premiere of our episode, and that line still hits. It was Marielle from Origins had a scene with Austin from Origins, and I mean, like, we're just all sitting at a table reading this, and we're not shooting this or anything, and it still hits. It was wonderful. This show is called Partners and Probies. The Probies are the fans of NCIS. And we have some questions for the two of you, specifically for the two of you, from the Probies of NCIS, all of the fans. We've kind of crowdsourced, and they could be short answers, they could be long answers, whatever you guys want.
I hope I know them.
Alf.
It's not trivia. We promise we're not quizzing you.
Okay, yes.
This is the NCIS SATs.
I've forgotten most of the answers.
The capital of Louisiana.
Baton Rouge.
We'll accept it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Where were we both born? Name the hospitals. No, we're kidding.
Okay, we're good. Alf asks, how long does it take to brainstorm for an episode, to come up with the concept and to get yourself to write?
Can I answer that one?
Yeah.
People always ask how long it takes to write an episode, and the answer is a question: how much time do we have?
Yeah.
So it's really a function of that. Sometimes, as Steve could tell you write an episode in a week, and sometimes you write it in a month.
Yeah. I mean, you could be thinking of an episode idea for years before you do it. But I will say, in a reasonable situation where it's, because I had to do this a lot when Don was around, if you say starting from 0, like, okay, give me a week to think of some idea, and then another week to write up the 1-pager for it, and then, which is the concept of the episode, and then another week or so to break the board, and then another week to write the outline, and 2 weeks to write the script. So 6 weeks is really pushing it. That's pedal to the metal, working your butt off, and maybe you're writing an episode that you shouldn't be writing because you had to think of it in a week. But you can. So that's sort of.
And you've got a staff that's there to help you. The other writers will.
Yeah.
But that's in a reasonable world. We're back to season 1, episode
Probie,
whatever.
first episode, 4 days.
4 days.
Did you say?
Wait, no.
Not Probie, Sub Rosa.
Sub
Rosa was written in 4 days.
Wait a minute. Why is everybody so calm? I'm sweating. You just went from 6 weeks to 4 days in like
because
a
they had
moment.
to do it.
Yeah, and I remember Bloodbath. We were in the first day of prep, and we're sitting in Don's office, and he says, does anyone have any ideas? And I said, well, I have this idea that maybe Abby, this is all I say to him, maybe Abby has a stalker, and she stays at Gibbs' house, and she messes his boat up, and she stays at McGee's house and messes his computer. And he goes, great, write it. And John Kelly was like, well, we'll do an outline. He's like, no, John, no time for an outline, just start writing. So I started writing, and we started shooting it like 6 days later with I had 2 acts done. I had no outline, no board. I was just kind of writing as I went. I didn't like that.
The amazing thing about Don Belisario, and he a brilliant writer, he would start typing and writing the script without knowing who the killer was yet, or where it was going. He came in our office one time, George and I, we used to have this big whiteboard with every beat, and he goes, I know how you work this way. It was like, I just,
Which is wild because, Steve, describe what the network wants right now as far as when we construct a story. Like, how many different steps are there in order to actually get something approved?
What they want to see,
writing something?
unless it's a special something, and you have to talk to them about it. They want to see, we call it a one-pager, either a paragraph or 2 pages long that just sort of, you're selling the episode. You're not telling the story. It's like, this episode's going to be where the director of NCIS charges Jimmy to carry around an AI to see if it'll help improve efficiency and across the way, and then you just, what's the sell? So that's the one pager. And then the next thing they like to see is an outline, which is about 15 pages, which is a breakdown of interior, squad room, whatever happens in that, exterior, alley, crime scene, breakdown. That's about 15 pages. They want to see that. And there's notes, processes, notes through all these things. And then they want to see the draft of the script. So they're involved at every step of the way. And they give us a lot of leeway too. That was the other nice thing. But when you take over the show, is whatever you want to do.
And when you're the number one show too, the only real note you ever got, I ever got in a one pager, was they're doing an episode exactly like that on another CBS show.
Blue Bloods
Blue
So that's the biggest
yeah.
reason is to stake out your turf.
Yeah.
get it in there early.
Yeah, it's too brief of an overview to really have any notes on.
And there are a lot of years where we got very limited notes.
Yeah,
They were
none.
great.
None.
Yeah.
How
Well,
good
when
did
the
that
show's
feel?
the show's cooking and it's on schedule, on budget, and the number one show in the network television, they tend to leave you alone.
Wow. How many do you get now?
At every step of the way.
Okay, so we need to step it up a little.
Yeah, notes in the one pager. When you said, how do you give notes in the one pager? They give it. They still manage. Notes in the outline, notes, and a lot of them are questions. A lot of times it's questions.
Yes.
As you start getting closer to a finished product, they'll start having suggestions like, I couldn't follow or I didn't quite get, and they'll look at a cut too. They'd see a rough draft of the cut. It's not really rough by the time we send it to them. It's our cut. And they'll have notes on that. Sometimes they're great though. Sometimes there are things where it's got to be fixed, but you're tired of giving the note, so you're like, I'm just going to let the network give this note.
Do you remember the trick you taught me when I wrote my episode?
Maybe.
I'll tell you. It's when you think you've clarified something in the one pager and they still have a question, just bold it. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just write it in bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll write a trick.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those. I wasn't
did.
sure which one we were going to give away.
Which one we were going to show? Was it about vodka? Okay, so here's another question that Megan has. Did you have any other alts or scrapped ideas for Gibbs's exit?
For the
Instead of
Alaska
Alaska.
stuff?
Instead of Alaska. If we hadn't sent him there, where?
Well, yes, there was an alt idea
Oh?
that I can't share with you.
Why not? This seems so juicy.
Oh,
Can you say it? What if
Such
you
a
don't?
tease.
Wait,
Because
wait,
it's
wait.
going to be an episode.
oh, I like that even
okay,
better.
that's better.
All right,
Mark
all right.
always had
And do
his,
I get to do it?
You all get to do it.
We do? Are we all
Mark
going
kind
to
of
fly
had his
fish?
heart set on Alaska.
Oh, Mark, really?
Yeah, Mark had been involved at a charity up there. And
Yeah.
Yeah, with
was
the
pushing
Clean
for that.
Water Initiative up there.
Oh, wow. And that's folded into the story, right? Some of the activists.
That was part of the deal.
Yeah.
Is that we were going to shoot in Alaska and somehow dramatize the problem with this mine that the locals had with this mine. In terms of the actor, there was a very long spreadsheet of names and ideas that agonized over for months and months and months. And then it was Amy Reisenbach said to me on the short list, she goes, how come you don't have Gary Cole on this list? And I said, well, because he was on another show, so he wasn't on any of the lists that I got.
Right.
And I said, well, he's on another show. And she goes, well, it's one of our shows. And I said, well, does that mean he's available? She's like, if you want him. And I was like, I want him. And she's like, well, what? I want him. I want him. Gary Cole. I just want to work with him.
Yeah.
So that was exciting.
Speaking of, we got time for one more Probie question. This comes from Yannick and Serena. Going off of the Gary Cole situation, who is an actor, like one actor you would love to guest star on the show? And would they be, a bad guy? Would they be a new agent? Would they recur? And anyone that's on your dream list right now that we're gonna fire this off into the universe and make sure we get them.
William Shatner.
Yeah, William Shatner.
wow.
That would be cool.
I mean, I haven't seen a picture lately, but I'm
What
sure
would he be on our show?
I don't know.
It's just got to be
Captain
longevity.
Kirk.
I mean, we got some Star Trek fans on the show.
Yeah,
Probably
he was on
like
Stars
it.
on Mars too.
Yeah.
There we go. You got Scott Bakula.
He's great.
He was a captain on Star Trek as well.
Yeah, that was very
Yeah.
exciting.
That was really cool. How about you? Any
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise?
yeah.
I hear
He
he's
was-
a
Or Tom
fan.
Cruise.
He's around.
He was just on the Origin
Yes.
set. Yes, I heard
Yes.
that.
Yes.
He
I
came
was-
to visit one day.
I always thought that he and Mark looked alike, actually.
Well, they've got that extremely handsome.
They're both really good-looking guys. Yeah.
Sexy.
It
I
all
think they
comes
were
to a
both,
point.
Weren't they
Oh,
both?
sure. It's still point.
Weren't they both at one point sexiest man alive to people?
I
Sure.
think.
Yes.
I would not be surprised if they both hit that multiple
Mark gets
times.
very
yeah.
upset if you ever bring that up to him. He is-
I'm going to put it in my Christmas card to him. Dear Mark, just looking at the sexiest man alive list.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's kind of. I'll never forget the time that his trailer was pranked, and we had Mark Harmon's Sexiest Man Alive up on his trailer. You remember that?
Picture, yeah.
I think it was Weatherly.
People's car.
Did yeah?
If
the
it-
people.
well, usually if,
magazine
cover.
if the prank wasn't by Harmon, it was by Weatherly, or the third one was Binder. So those are the three biggest pranks.
You really
it
downplayed your
was
part
for-
in these pranks, sir.
I'm running 7 right now, so I want to keep.
Well, you were the one behind the whole
Low
crew getting dressed
profile.
like me, weren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Please tell us about this, because we got to know.
I did. Well, he could tell you.
It didn't lay out the way I wanted, but it still ended up working. Frank had a outfit that he wore fairly often. It was a pink eyes on,
Yes.
Pink polo.
pink polo,
yeah.
khaki pants, and dark brown loafers, I think. And then, he's got the facial hair. It's a sort of an outfit to him. So we all dressed up. Was it for Halloween?
It was Halloween.
I think it was Halloween.
All the writers got all the clothes. We got the beard, we got the hair, and unbeknownst to us, one of our ADs, Josh, actually dressed his dog up the same way.
Wardrobe made the dog a pair of khaki pants.
Yeah.
Huge dog. Phineas was about this big.
And the way I wanted it to roll out was that I was going to walk in and Frank was going to see me and go, ha, 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 ha. And then he's going to realize, oh, it was the 3 other guys too. Oh, ha, 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 ha. And then all the women he was going to see them and be like, oh, Jesus, gosh, come on, guys. And then finally, the dog. But we ended up all just walking into the lunchroom.
We're having lunch. I was having lunch. Robert Wagner was guest starring that episode.
Yeah.
And Wagner turned to me and said, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah, I have a video of it. You hear him laughing. It was pretty stunning to see because I was already sitting with you, I think, when it happened. It was really, it landed really well.
I'm literally like, I literally keep wiping my eyes because you guys keep making me laugh that I'm
pretty
worried
good.
that I'm ruining this podcast. But I want to
With entertainment.
I want to wrap it up with one question, which is when you look back at your time on NCIS, at all the characters, all the memories you created, what's the thing that you look back on and you say, that's the thing I'm most proud of?
Well, for me, it's the people. It really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
It was such an incredible. George and I did lots of shows over the years. Don't think ever was involved with a show that was so much a family. Starting with the cast and all those people were there with us I was there for 19 years, but it was the people. And I was proud to be a part of that.
Yeah. And you were one of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the flip side, I despise everyone I
I
work
knew
with.
it.
Yeah,
I
we
freaking
knew
knew
that.
it. I knew
That's
it. I knew
that's
it.
what we're gonna get out of
The,
Steve Binder.
I will tell you, the thing that I'm most proud of is something that I didn't realize for years and years until I had children, actually, is I used to hear from people all the time, oh, NCIS, I watched that show with my family. And I never watched a show with my parents or anything like that. So I had no frame of reference or context for that. And then I had children. And I would we ended up watching a show together. We watched Lost. I watched Lost with my kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked forward to those viewings with them more than anything ever. One on either side of me watching the show and being invested in the show. And then when it ended, like they were crying, I was crying, it was super sad. And then the next time someone said to me, oh, NCIS, I watch it with my family. And I was like, oh, that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
I do
man.
for a living. And that's what I'm the most proud of.
That's what a showrunner does, man.
Absolutely.
And then the dead bodies.
And then the
Great
dead body.
There's dead bodies. Thank you guys so
Thank
much for
you.
coming and
Thank you.
and
Thank
telling
you.
us what this thing is, this showrunner thing. So many people see your names every single week. And it's so great to put a face to the names and stories to them as well, and to know that guy at the end of the episode plays pranks. and also happens to write really, really good shows. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you guys.
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Thank you.
Follow and listen to NCIS Partners and Probies on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.